this one, of course, is about Dune versus the Marvels. Check it out.
Hey, John, Zach from California here. I just realized that Dune 2 is coming out a week before the Marvels. Do you think that's going to hurt the box office? Dune 2 is scheduled to come out, I think, November 3rd, and then Marvels is coming out November 10th. So there won't be a huge window for making money. Thanks for bringing on the filthy.
Zach, thanks a lot for calling that in. So, yeah, listen, I've always thought, traditionally people would ask, oh, this big movie's coming out in April and this other big movie's coming out in April. It's like, yeah, but they're 3 weeks separated. It's, I've always thought you can have two big movies come out, like big premium movies come out. And as long as there's like one weekend buffer between them, so you got one coming out one weekend, a buffer with some smaller movies, and then the next weekend after that, another big movie. I perfectly think that's perfectly good, perfectly fine, and everything's fine. But coming up in November, we do have a back-to-back little bit of a face-off situation here going on. As November 3rd, and I know the release date has moved around a bunch, but as of right now, November 3rd, Dune Part 2 is coming out. And of course, the first Dune won the most Academy Awards at the last Academy Awards. I think it won 6 or 7 awards, if I'm not mistaken. Taylor, maybe you can look that up, how many Oscars it won. But it won more than any other movie that year. And of course, 1 week after that, The Marvels, which they just dropped the first trailer yesterday. I'm excited about seeing that movie.
6 Oscars.
It won 6, right. So top of the list was 6 Oscars that Dune won. So we got Dune 2 coming out. So, look, even I have to admit, having two films like that bumping up back to back, that's going to have an impact. But what kind of an impact, how much of an impact, and which one will be impacted more are the questions that we have. Now, if we go and look at these two films and some of the circumstances surrounding them. All right, now the first Dune Part 1 made $402 million, which when you think about a blockbuster, that's a small number. But you have to remember that when it was released in 2021, theaters were still struggling with the COVID stuff and getting audiences back into the theaters for COVID, right? That was still not a common thing. Also, and this is the big one, this is when Warner Brothers was still under the ownership of AT&T, and Jason Kilar made the all-time biggest idiot decision in the history of studio heads by taking all of their films that year and dropping them on HBO the same day they would drop in movie theaters. So clearly that hamstrung Dune's box office potential. So when you look at that $402 million, I think you also have to keep those factors in mind. But also keep in mind that while hardcore genre fans are well aware of and celebrate the name Dune, much of the average movie-going audience is not familiar with Dune at all, and quite frankly may come across as a little bit confusing to some average filmgoers. So there was that. Now, you contrast that with Ms. Marvel, or Captain Marvel, I should say, came out and swiftly joined the $1 billion club, made $1.1 billion at the box office, and of course, it was a part of the big MCU machine. Now, you could also make the argument, I suppose, that, well, you also have to take into consideration not a lot of average film fans have ever heard of Captain Marvel. That's true. I don't think she was as obscure as, say, maybe Guardians of the Galaxy were, or Suicide Squad were, or something like that. I suppose that would be a fair one to say. Now, look, going into this year, these going head-to-head, the circumstances are different, right? Because yes, while Captain Marvel made $1.1 billion, and while Dune made, quote-unquote, only $402 million, which is still more than how much? Black Adam. Still more money than Black Adam made.
Stop picking on him.
It's a little bit of a different thing. Dune is now a beloved movie. People freaking loved that movie. And it won 6 Academy Awards. Now, am I saying Dune Part 2 is going to be $1 billion film? No, I don't necessarily. I do not necessarily believe that Dune Part 2 is going to be $1 billion film. But it's going to make more than the 402 the first one made. So you look at Captain Marvel, or The Marvels, aka Captain Marvel 2. Is it going to make $1 billion? I don't think this one makes $1 billion either. I think there's also a bit of a novelty to the first one. And while we all knew it was going to be very successful, I didn't expect Captain Marvel to make $1 billion. And I don't expect the sequel will either. The newness of the character is gone. They haven't really done much with Carol Danvers since the Captain Marvel movie. Yes, she's made appearances in some other Marvel fare, but they really haven't done anything significant with her. Like, you can look at Natasha Romanoff, you can look at Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, right? And while she never had, up until Black Widow came out, she never had her own movie, she was a significant presence in a lot of films. So by the time her own movie came out, there was more interest. And the Black Widow movie was so-so. But still. So since this movie came out, and what year did Captain Marvel come out? 2018?
2007?
2019.
Oh.
2019. Okay. So in the 4 years since that movie came out, they really haven't done much with her. She appears, she has a line or two, she does some big action things. Of course, in Endgame, when one of the great moments, not the best moment of Endgame, but one of the great moments of Endgame, of course, is when like the Thanos' giant battleship's in the air and just blowing everybody to hell. And all of a sudden the guns stop firing. They turn towards something else in the sky. And in comes Carol Danvers and rips the ship in half and just destroys it. That's a great moment. That's kind of a chill sort of moment. But again, they didn't really do much with her. She doesn't have a lot of screen time.
She's always busy. She
Always
always
busy.
shows up. She's like, I'm busy.
And on top of that, she has 2 co-leads with her in this one. Then unless you watch Disney Plus, and not everybody does, you don't even know who these 2 co-leads are. Who's Photon? Who's this Ms. Marvel character? Like, so I think that's going to hurt it a little bit. So if we go back to that graphic, yeah, the first Dune only made 402. I expect it to make more. Yeah, Captain Marvel made 1.1 billion. I expect this next one to make less. But where are they going to meet? And which one impacts the other more? I think Ms. Marvel gets impacted more. Ms. Marvel. I think The Marvels gets impacted more. Because I don't think anybody who's wanting to see Dune is going to skip seeing Dune because The Marvels opens this weekend. You know what I mean? Whereas I can see people who are interested in seeing The Marvels going, I didn't get a chance to see Dune opening weekend, so I got to go see it first, right? So I honestly think that the one that's going to get a little bit more impacted here is probably Captain Marvel.
Although
The Marvels.
The Marvels. Although to that argument, it might pad the Marvels' second week then, if they staggered it.
It could.
A little bit.
It could. But there are going to be people, when you have these movies back to back, people's schedules are busy. You know, a lot of times they're going to pick one movie they can see a month or whatever, and some might have to pick between Dune and Captain Marvel. Diehard MCU fans will pick Captain Marvel. I think a lot of the more average movie-going audience, they may go with Dune. The one they saw won all those Oscars and everybody's raving about and all that kind of stuff. I was shocked. My wife Ann knows nothing about Dune. Nothing about it. Hardly ever even heard of it. Doesn't know this. She had no idea if it was about desert sand surfing in Baja. Like, she had no idea. No idea. She went in to watch Dune with me. The credits started to roll. The lights came up. I turned to her. I said, so what did you think? And she just kept staring straight at the screen. She said, this might be my favorite movie of all time. It actually challenged Tom Hanks's Big on my wife's favorite movie of all time list. And then she proceeded to watch it like 20 times after that thing. And now that was not everybody's experience with Dune, but it was significant. Anyway, Chris, we see as of right now, barring any other release date shuffling, we got Dune and then Captain Marvel releasing back to back. Is this going to be, you know what? They're really not going to impact each other. Do you think one might be impacted a little bit more? I don't know. How do you see this shaking out?
I do feel like these two have a big crossover audience, so I think it will affect them. I'm going to be one of those people who goes to see Captain Marvel first and prioritize that because, like Anne, I didn't know anything about Dune. That book was published in 1965, and I have never gotten around to reading it. And when I watched that movie, I did not have the same experience where I went, yeah, okay. Whereas Logan was just, oh my gosh, this is such a great adaptation of the book. This is so well done. And I was like, it's like boring Tremors. What? I don't know. I know. It just wasn't for me. And I think if the second part was there, because at the end it was like, oh, this is interesting. I would have liked some more stuff there. I know I'm in the minority here. I know most of you love this movie, and that's great. But for me, I'm not that jazzed about it. It's stunning. It is done really, really well. The cinematography is incredible. All of the world building is really, really great. But I was pretty bored. So I'm sure Captain Marvel will take a hit, but that's the one I'm going to prioritize.
At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, so we're heading into January of 2024, and we're looking back at the box office results from the year. Which movie makes more, Dune 2 or The Marvels?
The Marvels, I'd say.
You think The Marvels will make more than Dune?
Overall,
Chris?
worldwide.
I think so.
What about you, Taylor?
I think The Marvels, but I'm looking at November's release dates right now. There's also the Hunger Games prequel. There's
Yep.
a new DreamWorks Trolls movie. There's a new Disney animation Wish movie coming out. So November is going to be pretty stacked.
Was Wish moved?
I don't know. I'm looking at Movie Phone, and it's saying as of right now, November 22nd of 2023.
Okay, I thought that was moved. I might be wrong about that. I thought that was. I don't think Trolls is going to be. I don't think anybody's sweating Trolls, which is really. I know this bad. Trolls was when my wife was one of the bigwigs over at Hasbro. That was one of her properties. Managing was Trolls, so it's bad for me to say it, but I really don't think anybody is sweating Trolls right now.
And it's
But-
like the fourth one too, I think.
Oh, it might be
Like the fourth or third
seventh
movie?
for all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think Dune is going to make more money. Listen, as great as Ms. Marvel is, and you got to watch Ms. Marvel if you haven't seen it. It's fantastic. But as great as it is, very few people watched it. And when people look back, I mean, a bunch of people watch WandaVision, but when people look back and think about WandaVision, they weren't thinking of Photon. They weren't thinking of Rambeau. They were thinking about Wanda and Vision and what is grief if not love persevering. Still one of the greatest lines ever in the history of any comic book fair ever. It's grief, right? Mm-hmm. What is grief if not love persevering? Oh, still one of the greatest lines ever. I love that. But listen, I liked her very much in it. I did. I personally liked her very much in it. But she was a minor player at best. Even if she did get a bunch of screen time, her actual influence in the show was very minor. And I don't think a lot of people care. So I'm going to differ from the rest of you guys. I actually think Dune is going to make a little bit more money than the Marvels. Either way, I think both can be very big. I'm looking forward very much to watching both of these movies. So we'll see how it goes. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? We got Dune and the Marvels, as of right now, opening back-to-back weekends. Do you think they're going to have much impact on each other? Maybe you don't think they're going to have any impact at all. Which one do you think will ultimately, at the end of the day, end up not which will be the better movie, because Dune is going to be the better movie, but which one do you think will actually get more people and put more butts in the seats? Do you think it'll be Dune? Do you think it'll be the Marvels? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea.